One of the most important and often underappreciated parts of any pirate crew in One Piece is the ship. Among the most famous are the Roger Pirates with the Oro Jackson, the Whitebeard Pirates with the Moby Dick, and even the Redhead Pirates with Red Force. And while these are all impressively powerful vessels, they also all conform to the standard conventions of what most people would expect for a pirate ship. Once you start moving beyond that into the more creative concepts, you encounter the likes of Thriller Bark, Gecko Moriar's island-sized behemoth that was capable of capturing entire ships whole, or Trafalgar Law's crew with the Polar Tang, an extremely advanced submarine unlike anything else seen in the One Piece world so far. Even the ships of Blackbeard have been shown to have an unusual design, seemingly created directly from the trunks of vast trees. And yet all these ships pale in comparison to the complexity, speed, luxury, and abilities of the Strawhat Pirate ship, the Thousand Sunny. It was a ship designed and built by the greatest shipwright in the world, and this individual just so happens to be the topic of this video. I'm of course talking about Franky. This will be a continuation of my series in which I delve into the various past and backstories of some of your favorite One Piece characters, including the Straw Hats, the Supernovas, the Warlords, the Yonkos, and anyone else that you recommend within the comments. In the modern day, Franky needs no introduction, being one of the fan favorites since his introduction all the way back in chapter 329, titled My Name is Franky. From there we see his evolution, both figuratively and literally, into the lovable cyborg that had crashed his custom-built car directly into Big Mom's face. His loyalty, strength, and strict moral compass have been a welcomed addition to the Straw Hat crew for almost 20 years now. But in this video, we won't be discussing his present or his possible future relating to his potential importance in the ongoing Egghead Island arc with Dr. Vegapunk. In this video, we will be discussing Franky's past, covering his backstory all the way from his birth up until his first interaction with the Straw Hat Pirates, who he would then go on to join. If you enjoy this video, then please remember to leave a like and to subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content. Now, Franky's early childhood is something we know comparatively little about. What we do know is that his original name was Cutty Flam, and that he was born on an unspecified island in the South Blue, the sea known for its exotic and odd findings, including its flora, fauna, and customs. His parents were part of a pirate crew and seemingly had taken the young Cutty Flam along with them on their voyages. Considering this information, we can't say for sure if the island that Franky was born on was in fact somewhere he remained for any length of time, or if it was simply the island his mother happened to be on at the time in which she had given birth to him. Regardless of this, there was little love between Franky and his parents, and when he was still young, his parents threw Franky overboard from their ship and had left him to die. It was only good fortune that had allowed Franky to survive this ordeal, as he was rescued from almost certain death by the legendary fisherman shipwright Tom. This would leave Franky stranded on Water 7, though this would in truth end up being a significant improvement on his previous living situation. Franky had become Tom's new apprentice after he had built a functional cannon out of scrap metal and materials that had been discarded and left lying about. It is through this that he would first meet his eventual best friend Iceberg, Tom's other apprentice, with the two very quickly developing a brother-like relationship. In fact, it was Iceberg who had given Franky his now well-established name, declaring that Cutty Flam is a weird name, and that instead he would refer to him as Franky from now on. As time went on, Franky would learn the art of shipbuilding from Tom. However, his passion had stretched beyond the conventional ships that the workers of Water 7 were famous for. Franky's true passion lied in the design and construction of warships that he would affectionately name his Battle Frankies. These vessels were constructed with the intention of hunting and defeating Sea Kings, monsters that would spell doom for an unprepared sailor. He would note his progression in shipbuilding by assigning each of his Battle Frankies a number corresponding to the order in which they were built. Despite Franky's great ambitions regarding shipbuilding, his aspirations remained humble, proclaiming that he wished to create his dream ship, one capable of circumnavigating the world, with himself as the shipwright. Tom was supportive towards Franky's dream, stating that if he was capable of doing that, he would have surpassed him as a shipwright. During this time, Water 7 will be visited by the Roger Pirates and the Pirate King himself, Goldie Roger. While the purpose of their visit has not been expanded upon, the crew would interact with Franky's mentor Tom, who was acquainted with the pirate crew due to having built their legendary ship, the Oro Jackson, the only ship to have ever circumnavigated the One Piece world and to have conquered the entirety of the Grand Line. While at Water 7, one of the members of the Roger Pirates, Kozuki Oden, would quickly become friends with the child Franky and would even invite him to join the Roger Pirates crew on their adventures. Franky would swiftly decline the offer, stating his distrust in pirates because of how his parents had treated him, and his refusal to become a pirate himself. Tom's association with the Roger Pirates would prove to be a problem when Franky was 12 years old, as he was put on trial for having built Roger's ship the Oro Jackson. The justification behind his sentencing was pretty flimsy, and it's something that I'll come to later on in the video, as no other shipwright had ever been sentenced in the past based on the crimes of those who had purchased their ships. Nonetheless, Tom had managed to strike a deal with the Marines, and by extension the world government, in order to receive a pardon for his alleged crimes should he be capable of constructing the sea train, the Puffing Tom, within the next 10 years. Now, this sea train was something hailed as a marvel of engineering and a near impossible feat, something that was even directly commented on by Nami when the Straw Hats had used the service themselves. It was effectively a floating train which traversed the sea itself, near impervious to weather or conditions it had faced. The main line had served to connect Water 7 to the government island of Enies Lobby. Tom was successful in completing his end of the bargain, spending 10 years to construct the train and the main first line, and then a further 4 years to construct 3 more lines that the train could use. As such, the Marines were willing to provide Tom with his pardon, thus sparing him from his death sentence. However, at this moment, disaster had struck. Franky, then 26 years old, was framed by Spandam, the leader of the government unit Cypherpole 5, who was after the blueprints for the ancient weapon Pluton, which seemed to have been handed down to Tom through the shipwrights of Water 7. Spandam had used the warships that Franky had built throughout his life to attack Water 7, and although Tom and his apprentice had managed to stop the attack, but because the warships had bared Franky's name, and it being well known that he was the one constructing them, it had appeared to everyone concerned that they were the ones who had organized the attack. Tom, Franky and Iceberg were all sentenced to death, with Franky regretting ever having built his ships due to the damage that they had caused. Tom was enraged to hear this and had tore free from his handcuffs to hit Franky, stating that the act of creating a ship is neither good nor evil, and that even if his ships had destroyed the world, it is the responsibility of those who had built them to always love the ships that they create. After saying this, Tom had declared that he is using the pardon he received for the construction of the sea train to absolve themselves of the crime of attacking Water 7, saving Iceberg and Franky from death, but leaving Tom to receive judgment for the crime of building the Oro Jackson. Tom was escorted onto the sea train by Spandam to be transported to Enies Lobby. Franky, desperate to rescue his mentor and father figure, attempted to intercept the train. He stood on the tracks in front of the Puffing Tom, hoping to stop the train with his bare hands. Now, unsurprisingly, he was unsuccessful and was run down by the train and presumably killed. Unbeknownst to everyone else, Franky had managed to survive the collision, albeit with significant injuries. To save his life, Franky was forced to reconstruct the destroyed sections of his body, which he had managed to do using materials that he had salvaged from an abandoned ship. To mark his transformation, he had BF-36 tattooed on his shoulders, signifying that he was now the 36th Battle Franky. It was 4 years after his disappearance that he had returned to Water 7, where he was outraged to find that Iceberg is now the head of Galila, a conglomeration of all the previous shipwright companies within Water 7, and he had allied himself with the world government. While the two argued, Iceberg would ultimately give Franky the blueprints to Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons and the very thing that Tom was killed to acquire. While Iceberg was driven to tears over the revelation that Franky was still alive, he had requested that he once again leave Water 7, preventing the blueprints from ever being found. However, Franky had refused, saying that it was his decision whether he would leave or not. After leaving his reunion, Franky had ventured out into the back streets of Water 7, where he was attacked by Zambai and his gang after entering their turf. They proved no match for Franky, whose bodily modifications had greatly enhanced his already considerable strength. After taking over the group's turf, he had recruited Mozu and Kiwi as his next followers, convincing them to swap alcohol for cola. He then took them to the newly made Franky house, where he formed the Franky family, the de facto head mafia family within Water 7. As part of their actions, the family had stolen from incoming pirates, dismantled ships legally or otherwise, and had acted as the main source of muscle on the island. With Franky leading the group, he constantly blamed himself for Tom's death and had decided to spend the rest of his days on Water 7, attacking incoming thieves and looters, organizing all the thugs so that he could keep the city crime in check, and overall protecting the city that Tom had loved so much. He at that point was never able to forgive himself for what had happened to Tom. Despite this, he never gave up on his hopes of one day achieving his dreams and finally building his ideal ship. Because of this, a portion of the money made by the Franky family over the years went towards the purchasing of Adam's wood, the strongest shipbuilding material in the world, and an extremely precious and expensive resource. Approximately Ultimately, 4 years later, Franky would get the chance to complete his dream, when his family had stolen 200 million berries from a lone pirate wandering around Water 7, kickstarting the chain of events that would lead to the epic confrontation at Annie's lobby and Franky joining the Strawhat Pirates. It is safe to say that Franky's backstory is one filled with tragedy, danger, and unyielding hope. As discussed in this video, he has endured numerous trials and tribulations, but his strength and resilience have allowed him to overcome each and every one of them. He has become a beloved character within the One Piece world, and his endearing nature, lovable personality, and catchy catchphrases have ensured his status as one of the most memorable members of the Straw Hat crew. Let me know what you thought about Franky's past in the comment section of this video, as well as what other backstories of characters you want me to cover in future videos. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I can't wait to see you in my next One Piece video. If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.